I don't know if my tips are a surefire win or if they fall flat on those customers. But since I am in the Midwest and I do know that they work in Michigan and Chicago, feel free to take some notes on some things during the presentation today. And if you need further explanations of them, let me know. I have most of them in writing. So to get started, I want to talk about the number one fundamental thing that you need for marketing, right? So if you took any marketing classes in college or in high school or recently, the three fundamentals of marketing are that you need people to market to, you need a message that you want to send out, and then you need to figure out what your follow-up is going to be. Those are the three fundamentals. So to start from ground one, you need people to market to. Whether you've been in the business forever or you're brand new, how can you figure out who those people are? And the number one thing is the same exact thing that your broker probably told you your first day in the business. And I'm sure a million people could guess this. And if we were in a live presentation where I could see your hands raised without an awkward pause that Zoom hand raising would cause, I would ask you to give me the information. But the number one thing is building your database. And the main reason most people don't do it is because it sounds more confusing than it needs to be, right? Building your database, you join a new brokerage, and they're all great, right? All of our brokerages, we're lucky to have them. They have a lot of great information and systems. However, they overcomplicate it. They give you the keys and the password to a system like Salesforce or like Zendesk or Lionshare, and there's all these MailChimp and Top Producer, all these real estate CRM systems, and you log in and it's your first week in real estate or your first week in a new brokerage, and it looks really confusing. Those systems are great once you have the general people in a list, but the number one place I would recommend that every person today starts their database in is an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheets spreadsheet. My number one reason for saying this is because since 1985, before I was even born or thought of, right? Like I was 2 years before I was even born, any CRM system out there, any computer system has always let you upload from a Google spreadsheet. So no matter what brokerage you move to in the future, no matter what changes come for technology in the real estate industry, which is always changing, if you have your database backed up and saved and updated regularly in an Excel sheet, you will always be prepared to easily and nimbly market whenever you need to. Now, when we're talking about an Excel spreadsheet, I don't want to make it sound too simple, because the important thing is to separate every piece of information out to the lowest common denominator. The number one mistake I see is people put like a first and last name in one column, or they'll write the Smiths in one column. You need to put first name in one column, last name in another column, spouse name in another column, and then envelope salutation in another column. And the reason for separating all this information out is because when you then upload that list into whatever system your office gives you or whatever system you choose to purchase on your own, you're able to send mass marketing out that specifies the person's first name and that specifies other information. People that do a really good job with this can do some really cool marketing. For instance, if you put your address into your list and you separate it with address, city, state, zip code, all in separate columns, you can then do an email out. If you get a new listing in Rockford, Michigan, you can send that new listing out to all of your clients with their first name in the email who live in Rockford, Michigan. It's kind of like thinking when you're getting marketing information from a big store like a Banana Republic or a Gap, they don't send you every single clothing item that they have for sale in an email. They send you clothes that are specific to your past buying habits. They send you sales that they think would reach you depending on if you're a sales shopper or not a sales shopper. And they send you clothes that are specific to the region of the country that you're in. And they typically personalize the email with your first name. If you can personalize marketing and make it more pertinent to the people that you're sending it to, it will always be more effective. Same kind of thing. Think about like old school marketing, right? Like if you're sending a postcard out and you send it to, if you send it to a huge group of people with one message on it, your message is really only going to resonate with a certain subset of people. Versus if you're doing like a just listed or just sold postcard and you send it out to the houses around that house, it's very pertinent information for them because they get to understand what the values of houses are like in their area. Everybody likes that update. So my number one thing for everyone out there would be take your database, separate everything down to the lowest common denominator, and then that'll help you figure out how to send out more specific marketing. Now, before I move on, does anyone have any questions on that they'd like to put in the chat function while I refresh my computer screen so I can see my notes again? And guys, please feel free to use the chat function or to pipe in with a comment whenever I open it up for comments. You feel free to unmute yourself because I want to make sure that everybody gets the most possible value out of this. So I'll open it up for questions on that right now.
Matt, can I interrupt just for a second?
Yes, go ahead.
Just a quick reminder to all of you, I'm seeing a whole lot of people that are not on video, and I see a whole lot of people whose names are iPhone or just a first name and not a last name. Please turn your chat function on so you can see it to the right, because we've chatted several of you but are not getting a response. So if you could turn your chat function on so you could see that to the right side of your screen, provide us with the full name, that would be helpful, and we can give you proper Con Ed credit.
Awesome, thanks, Julie. So when we talk about databases, one of the most common things people ask me is like, okay, if I put all this effort into making my database, what can I expect in terms of results? And the number one thing we have to talk about first is the quality of people that you're putting in. So who belongs in your database? Is it every random Zillow lead? Is it the guy you went to grade school with? The answer is you can have separate databases, by the way, but you want to put people into your list who you know on a first name basis and who know you back on a first name basis. Those are what I would consider quality people. Now, it's okay if it's someone that you don't expect to directly refer you business, if you give them a group in your database that reflects that. For instance, you could have one group of vendors, and these would be people who you commonly refer business to, your contractors, your plumbers, your lenders, your title reps. These are people that like have a meaningful place in your life, who you should have them in your database and you should send them information on a periodic basis, but you want to know what group they're in so that you can send out specific communications to your vendors versus your past clients. Other groups that you could think about using would be any group that you're super involved with. I was meeting with a realtor the other week, and she might even be on the call, but she was really involved in one of the car clubs in town. You know, they meet every month or so. They all have a certain brand of car, and they talk about it. So she has a specific list in her database of people from that car club. So she can send out real estate related marketing that's specifically geared towards people in that club. So it seems more salient to them and it's more interesting to them. There's so many examples of this, but I would just add another column in your Excel sheet that goes over which group someone's in. And there's so many different groups you could have, but I highly recommend everybody coming up with at least 5 groups. You could have A-list people, past clients, you could have leads, and that way you can send all of them different information. You can also include people who sold a house with you versus bought a house with you versus did a buy and sell with you. And that way you can send better information. I see we're getting a couple of questions here, so I'll jump in. First one was, I mentioned salutation as a column in Excel. Can you give an example, please? Yes. So an example of a salutation would be whatever is going to go on the first line of a mailing address. So for instance, my name is Matthew, my wife's name is Stephanie. We are collectively known as the Muscats, or so the salutation could be the Muscats, or it could be Matthew and Stephanie Muscat. I think both of those would be appropriate salutations. You could also do the Muscat family if you wanted our kids to be involved. But making sure that you have different salutations for your envelopes listed in your database will make it a lot easier to export your entire list into mailing address labels. Like if you were to call me and say that you wanted help doing a postcard or a letter, the first thing I would ask is, what's the quality like on your mailing list? And if you don't have an easy way for me to export it to Excel to send to a printer to print out nice, neat, organized labels, it's going to make the job a lot harder. And the people that have this in a nice, organized fashion where it can export to labels immediately, we can get a mailing done in 2 or 3 days. And it just makes marketing so much easier. Next question I see here is, where or how do you send out postcards by zip code? Okay, lots of great ways to send out postcards by zip code. One of the easiest ways that I recommend for this would be working with a local print shop. You basically submit a design to a local print shop. tell them what zip code or area you want to send it to, and they can either send it to everybody using something called Every Door Direct, which is a discount program offered by the post office, where it sends the postcard to everybody in a certain area. It does not put their first and last name on it. It'll say like address or current resident. It's a lot cheaper, but it's good for getting a message out to a big group of people. Very common. It's what political candidates usually do. Another option, if you want to be a little bit more specific, is a lot of the title companies in town have different apps or services where you can circle an area on their app and download an Excel list of addresses. And I've used that very, very commonly with a lot of agents that I work with, because you can really narrow down who you want to send it to. Like if you wanted to send it to anyone who recently bought like a multi-unit property, or if you wanted to send it to people who bought on like one side of wealthy versus like another. You want to be careful that you're not being discriminatory in your marketing, because I know that's a huge hot topic right now. But you know, obviously you want to make sure that you're marketing to the area that makes sense and that's in the best nature of your clients. Those would be 2 tips for zip code marketing that I would use. Couple others here. Is there a preset Excel spreadsheet to use? I've never used Excel. That's a great question. So Excel can frustrate a lot of people, but I can send anyone that wants, and if anyone emails me at matt@treadstonemortgage.com, I'd be more than happy to send you a preset Excel sheet that has 10 or 15 different column names in that would get you off to a really good start. Everyone's business will be a little bit different. Keller Williams, I know, has their own Excel sheet somewhere in their backend system that they give you as a template to then upload into Command. I know Remax has a very similar one for uploading into their system. So most of your bigger brokerages out there will have some type of Excel sheet that you can use as a starting point. Otherwise, anyone that is interested, I'm more than happy to sign up to. Just shoot me a message or email. So talking about then what you could expect to get out of your database marketing. The number that we've seen most commonly again and again and again, and NAR had a study about this a couple years ago, and I wish I could find the exact stat. If anyone has it, feel free to post it in the chat. But the number is 7%. So the number was 7% of your database should be closed every year by you. So if you're a realtor, you have 100 people in your database that you know on a first name basis, that know you back on a first name basis. If you market to them at least 6 times a year, that could be a call, an email, a text message, an in-person event, and something else, you should get 7 closings off of your database. Now the numbers on this, I think, are pretty exciting, right? Like I think if you look at the national averages for what an average, none of you out there are average realtors, right? Like you're all learning today, you've signed up for this, you're all above average. But if you're average, I think it's like 50% of agents did less than 1 deal last year. 1 deal or less last year. And that's because a lot of transaction coordinators are licensed. A lot of people just do one huge deal. But if you simply had 100 people in your database and closed 7%, that would be 7 transactions. If the average purchase price in West Michigan right now is $250,000, that's 7 times $250,000. I'm not a math major, but I believe that would put you in that $2.5 to $3 million range in your first year in real estate. And that would be with a very moderate sized database, right? Like if you're 30 years old or older and you've lived in West Michigan your entire life, your database should be a lot bigger than that. With agents that I've worked with, very commonly, if we can get up to 200 people in your database and then simply set 7 touch points throughout the year, it is absolutely not uncommon to do 14 to 21 closings in that first year off of your database. Now, yes, your first 2 months, you're probably still not going to close anything because it's really hard to get the ball rolling. But if that's your number, you stick to a plan and you go for it. It's very, very attainable. And that's what I think is really exciting here, right? Like everyone gets into real estate and wants to do well. You want to help as many families as possible, and not just families, but other people as well, investors. But you also want to make it a profitable career for yourself. So I find it really helpful when someone strips it down to the bare numbers to figure out how many people do I need to market to? How many times do I need to market to them? What will my cost on this be? What will my time investment be? But I would absolutely recommend first getting your database up, and then second, figuring out your touch points to get to that 7% rule. And by the way, there are agents that do a lot better than 7%. The other number that goes along with that is that a great agent is also supposed to be able to close half a deal for every 1 deal closed. So if you close a deal with John and Susie, you're supposed to ask for a referral and hopefully get one referral for every other closing that you have. So you take that on top of the 7%, you do 10 deals your first year, that should be 15 deals your second year. And then it kind of grows and snowballs exponentially from there. These numbers are not, by the way, like something that is unattainable by you. This is something that on pure statistics and what we've seen in the past should be attainable for anyone out there. I got a couple more questions from the audience here. Are the touch points all mailings or emails as well? Great question. The touch points are only a fraction mailings. And I'm really cognizant of the fact that mailings are not in every realtor's budget, or it might not be your style. I think mailings still work if done well, if done cleverly. No, but the touch points are phone call, email, text message, voicemail, in-person event if possible, or some kind of meeting, and then repeating one or two of those things again. I think all of those things can be done really well, and if you only have to do one or two of those as a mailing per year, you can really get your costs down. When you're thinking about the mailings that you are going to do, and my book talks about this a ton, think about what you throw away versus what you actually look at for 10 seconds. Like, I feel safe in talking to you guys. I feel like we're a very small group because I can only see 12 of us at a time on my screen. But there's no insurance agents out there on this call, I don't think, hopefully. But insurance agents send a lot of spam mail out. Like, does anyone else get like 12 letters from State Farm every week? Not to knock State Farm, they do a great job on policies. I have a couple, but they market a lot. It's a lot of cold junk mail, and I don't think I've opened one in 5 years. And I'm not sure if any of you have done the same thing, but I think our brains are trained to look at what junk mail is before we even open it, so that we can save time in our day. And the other piece with mail is that any of your customers out there or people you're mailing that have teenagers, oftentimes in a world before COVID actually, teenagers get home from school, they look at the mail, and they know what the junk mail is, and they throw it away before their parents even see it. So you spend all this money on a mailer for 50% of them to be thrown away by a teenager? That's insane. So I'm not saying to not do mailers, but what I really, really recommend is to make sure that you're putting some thought into it and making sure that the outside of the mailer or the envelope, if you're using a letter, are things that will make sense. Looks like we've gotten a couple more questions here. Looks like we do have a couple insurance agents in the audience, so kudos to the great insurance agents out there. So the next one is a specific tactic that you can use that we kind of already touched on with your database. So we've made the database, but now we need to figure out what to actually do with them. So one tactic that I picked up from an awesome agent is to upload your database into Google Maps. Has anyone done this before? Feel free to use the chat function if you have. But I'm going to share a link on my screen really quick. Of course, it's always a little harder to do this on a Zoom presentation than on a normal one. But let's see here. Back to Zoom. Share content. Screen. Start broadcast. All right, so this is a map that a realtor in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area showed me that she creates and that she updates on a weekly basis. What this is an upload of all of the addresses of her past sold listings, as well as the buyers that she helped. She created two separate lists, categorized one of them with purple markers and one of them with blue markers. I thought this was a fantastic novel approach to your database because I hadn't seen it before. What this helps her do is she updates this every week. She has her transaction coordinator take any closings that week or any buyers that she's helping, and she uploads them to the list. And then every time she's in her car driving from appointment to appointment, she overlays this on her car's GPS so that she can see if she's nearby to any of her past clients. She keeps a constant stock of little pop-by gifts in her car. Nothing expensive, but during COVID, she was doing little gift bags for kids with activities, stickers, coloring books, things like that. Real estate related coloring books, mind you. So she did keep it pretty salient. But also, when she's meeting with her buyers and sellers, she can show them a realistic map of all of the areas that she's helped people in. There's a lot of different things you could do with the data overall once you create it. But if you already have all the addresses in an Excel list, you can very, very easily upload this to Google Maps and create something. So this is called Google My Maps, not just Google Maps, and it's free, which helps. And you can create an unlimited number of total maps. You could create active buyers. You could create solds. You could create a friends list. But if you're planning any routes of like where you're going to be doing drop-offs to for any little client gifts, or if you just want to use your time more wisely and you're stuck in an area before a listing and you want to randomly pop by to a past client's house to say hi, this will show you who's around that area. Any questions on that? Let's take a peek in the chat really quick. So a couple people asked how you do this. So you simply go to Google My Maps, and there is an upload button to take your spreadsheet. And I don't know the exact format that they request the spreadsheet in, but we did it a couple weeks ago, and I believe I only had to reformat 2 or 3 fields in there. Sometimes you will have to, like, I know I've told you to separate everything in terms of columns in Excel, but sometimes you'll upload to a certain system and they'll want you to combine it, which it's easy to combine stuff. It's usually one click and one formula that you can Google, but it's harder to separate things out. So I highly recommend doing that. I think it'll just make you a lot more powerful. And got another question here. GoogleMyMaps.com. Let me double check that for you just to make sure I send you to the same place as I used. So I went to google.com/maps, and then it was /D/U/0. But if you just go to google.com and type in Google My Maps, you can access that. You do have to be signed into Google via a Gmail account. And then Bo Otis with a pro tip: if you use Google Contacts and store your client's address, it will also do this. That's amazing, because I know a lot of us already use Google Contacts, so that seems like a no-brainer on making sure that you have all of this. And then Bo, if you want to chat back to me on this, can you group people on Google Contacts also, so that then when you load up Google Maps, it will show you which group they're in? He said, not sure about that, but if you are going to use the Google Contacts method, I would just make sure that you can separate them into groups. Krista wanted to know if this is separate from the spreadsheet but connects to Google My Maps when you want. So this can be your main spreadsheet that I'm talking about, your main database, that you then just upload a new version of it to Google Maps every week or whenever you choose to update that. And I think that's a key piece I missed. I don't think I really talked about that. It's one thing to sit down and create your database. And I think a lot of us out there have done that periodically over the years. I know one agent calls me just about every 2 or 3 years, like clockwork, to help them redo their database. The key thing here, guys, is to set a date and time in your calendar that is just time blocked, where every week or every month you're going to update that database. That might be every Friday at 2 o'clock. It's just in your calendar. You're going to spend half an hour going through your emails of people you talked to that week, going through your Facebook of new friends you made that week that you connected with, to figure out how you want to update that. I think if we talk to some of the top agents in town, especially those that do a higher level of business or who have been around for 30 years, most of their number one regrets would have been not keeping accurate records of their past clients. If this sounds like a monumental task, like I know we're all slammed right now, but if it sounds like a monumental task, here's my best advice. Start with lists that you already have. So tomorrow, if you want to do this, go to your favorite coffee shop. I like Outside Coffee Company. They're open right now. Beautiful weather. And start with your cell phone contacts. Go through, You can download it. There's apps that'll convert your cell phone contacts into Excel format if you want to, or you can just go through one by one and take the quality out of it rather than putting everyone into it. Start with your cell phone contacts, add those to your list, and then add any other information you have. You don't have to have every piece of information for every person on your list. That's totally okay. Once you do that, go on your Facebook. Sort your friends list from A to Z. And it's easy to do that on a computer. It's really hard to do that on a cell phone. Sort your friends list from A to Z and start pulling in people that you at one point in your life had a great relationship with. I don't put people on my list who randomly add me on Facebook who I don't know. I find that to be a complete waste of time. Even if they look like someone who might be like an interesting contact or who has a lot of money, it's not a good use of my time. I like to focus on people who know my first name and know me back. And we'll talk a little bit more about social media in a little bit because I think we have some interesting things we can talk about. But go to your coffee shop, start plugging in that information, then go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the social media site that all of us have, but none of us use. You can download your entire contact database on LinkedIn in 3 clicks. It is a no-brainer for anyone in a sales-based activity. Now, LinkedIn used to give you email addresses and phone numbers for everybody in your database. In fact, my book says it still does because my book was written 6 months ago when it was still allowed. LinkedIn changed their privacy policies because apparently everyone's all concerned about privacy these days. And now you can get names, job titles, company names, but they only give you email addresses for people that opt into email addresses. So be a little bit careful on that, but there's still a lot of great information there. You can also take Christmas card lists, right? Like how many of our mothers, wives, best friends, etc. have a great Christmas card list of people already formatted? That's a great start. If you're in your 20s, 30s, or recently got married, why not take your wedding list? Your wedding list that you just mailed all the invitations out on. Or I think I still have mine in an Excel sheet on Google Drive from 7 years ago when I got married. That's a great starting point. Call your mom. Moms always have lists. Dads do too, but not as well as moms. Moms do a way better job. Ask your mom for whatever lists she has. And then take people who you know well. Kids' school address books, that's a tip I got from a realtor. If your children's school has an address book or a contact list, don't add everybody from it. You don't want to be that annoying parent who's like soliciting all the other parents at school, but highlight the ones you know. Highlight the ones who your kids actively play with and who you see at the PTA events and all that stuff. Add those people to your list. Those would be great contacts for you. So those are just a couple ideas of where to start your list. But I mean, I absolutely guarantee that if anyone did this, no matter how long you've been in real estate, how long you've been in Grand Rapids, I would be shocked if you couldn't get 150 to 200 people within 2 days into your list. And again, you only need one piece of contact information, an address, a phone number, an email address, something. Something is better than nothing. Getting a lot of really great comments on the chat feature here. Hank says, this is awesome. Well, Hank, I think your glasses are awesome, so thank you very much. Michelle Kemp said, also downloaded Facebook friends list. Kim said, I have friends on Facebook, but not their emails. Is there a way to get their emails from Facebook? That is an awesome question. So Facebook includes contact information for about 30% of users, and this is all self-selected. So if you were to go to my Facebook, you would see all of my contact information because in the nature of the industry that I'm in, I want to make it really easy for people to contact me. But if you were to find my parents, they'd have no contact information because they think that someone's going to show up at their house and like steal all of their things if they put their address on the internet. I'm not saying that one approach is right or wrong. I'm probably not private enough, and other people are probably a little bit too private. But I would say that if you go on your Facebook and look at your friends list, if you go to about 30% of people, you should find contact information. Which, by the way, if you have 2,000 Facebook friends and you have contact information for 30%, that's a lot of people. That would be enough to get your database off and running in a really, really good fashion. And like Brooke just commented in the chat, LinkedIn is probably the best source for email addresses. Again, not everyone has one anymore on there, but it's still a great place to start, and it's an easy download. Facebook does not let you download all of your friends into one nice and concise list. There are bots out there that you can pay that kind of scrape it and do an okay job with it. And there's also like ways that you can download all of your Facebook information, but it's really meant for a backup in case you delete your Facebook account and then you want to reactivate it. So moving on from databases, because I gave Brittany an awesome outline of the presentation and I just spent way too much time on one aspect of that. I'm going to move on to the next piece, which is what to actually send out. Like when you're contacting people and when you're actually marketing to your database, what do you talk about? The number one reason when I follow up with agents or lenders a month after a great marketing meeting, you know, like you met with me, I met with you, you met with someone to talk marketing, you had all these great ideas, and then a month later you didn't execute any of them. That is so depressing. Why is that? Turns out that the number one reason is people would have reached out to their past clients, their friends, their database, but they didn't know exactly what to say, so they didn't feel confident. You know, they were about to pick up the phone, but they were like, hey, you know what, I don't have anything important to say, so I'm not going to call. It's just not everyone's style. Here's what I would say. If you go into a phone call with confidence, it's way better. Everyone can sense that confidence. Number two thing I would say is that it's not a cold call if it's someone that already knows you, right? If they're already in your database, you know their first name, they know yours. It's not a totally cold call. You can come up with an interesting topic. What I like to do is every Monday, I spend an hour in the morning scouring real estate, marketing, and mortgage magazines, online forums like the Inman Marketing News, National Association of Realtors, a couple marketing groups that I follow, and I write down the 3 most interesting topics that are buzzworthy that week. And then as I'm going through my calls that week with people that I need to connect with that I don't really have a reason to reach out to, but who I should be connecting with every week, I use those as my topics. So I keep it pertinent and timely. And that I found has been one of the easiest ways to strike up a conversation. You can also go to google.com. It's this website called Google. It's really cool. It's been around for a while. Their stock is great. And you can type in Google Trends, Trends, and it will tell you what's trending on Google every week. It's a great way to make sure that you know everything that's buzzworthy that's happening. It doesn't mean everything important that's happening. It might be a lot of Kardashian stuff or a lot of you know, political stuff, but it tells you what people are searching about, which is a great eye into the consumers. So make a sticky note every Monday or a note in your iPhone with potential topics you can call people about. And that way, when you're about to start making your calls, you can do that in a more effective way. Other things, home values. Home values are one of the number one pieces of data that you guys have at your fingertips that your customers care the most about. I mean, like how many 30-year-olds do you talk to that you sold a house to 5 years ago that wouldn't love it if you called them, emailed them, or texted them that their home was worth 50 grand more than it was 5 years ago? I mean, like with the numbers that we're seeing right now on how home prices are appreciating, with inventory being so low and supply and demand being crazy, there are so many people that are sitting on a ton of equity, and they're not all in real estate like we are hearing this every day. Like, I think we're all sick of tired of hearing about low inventory, rising prices, etc., because we're around it all day. We assume that everybody knows about that, but they don't, right? When you're talking to your neighbors and your friends and at church and everything else, not everyone knows that their home is worth 25% more than it was 5 to 10 years ago. Giving people that information is valuable every single time. Now, there's software that'll send them their home evaluations every month that co-brand you. There are lenders you can partner with that have similar softwares out there that do that. A lot of companies have tools that they give their agents for free that do these things. But at the very least, even if you're a solo agent with no budget for marketing or technology, you can do your research to figure out what the average price of a home is in all these markets. And by the way, shout out to Grar for putting out awesome stats every single month that I use every single month in newsletters, in marketing, and communications with all of our customers. If you're not using the Grar stats, you're crazy. Second one that you get for free with your, I guess it's for free, I don't really know how this works with your dues, but Showing Time. I think we're all on Showing Time. Showing Time, Jason Lash actually in our association met with me for an hour and kind of walked me through a while back all of the amazing stats that Showing Time gives. I was blown away. I mean, you can filter it by zip code, you can filter it by bedrooms, by bathrooms. I mean, if you want to give your clients the true reason, the true amount of time that a home is sitting on the market, 2 beds, 3 baths in their specific zip code, it's a great way to kind of prep your listing clients ahead of time on what they could expect based on averages. And if you think you can beat it, tell them that. But on the buy side and the sell side, there's so much data out there. And if you're looking for reasons to reach out to your customers, I would always lead with data. The next point I'll make on data, just to hammer this home, is about financial advisors. So a lot of great financial advisors out there. I believe they are legally required by federal law to send out quarterly estimates to their clients of what their assets are worth. I think pretty much all of us who have a retirement account get a quarterly statement via email, mail, something of whatever our assets are worth. They're required to do so. Now, for most people out there that are under 40, your real estate is usually worth more than your investments, right? Like my house, I've been saving 20% for the last 10 years since I've had a job. I'm really excited that my retirement savings is growing, but it's growing at a fairly normal rate, 7 to 10% returns, put a couple saving as much as I can. However, my real estate, it's not necessarily about what you owe on it. It's about what the total home is worth. That's the interesting part to clients. I'm sure they're all aware of what they owe, but knowing what the home is worth gives them an idea of then what equity they have. So let's change this paradigm of just financial advisors talking about wealth. Let's take control of the wealth conversation as real estate professionals. Why is every person on this call not sending out a quarterly report to their clients, or at the very bare minimum, a yearly report to their clients of what their home is worth? I think if I was president, if you want to elect me in 2020, that would be the law. You would have to give your clients a quarterly or yearly estimate of what their home is worth. In terms of generating a conversation with your clients that they might be interested in, this is the number one form of marketing that works just about every time. If you send this out to 100 people, you will get conversations back. And if you skip a year and forget to send this out, people will hound you for it. People will ask you for it. You can do it to your past clients. You can do it to people in your database that haven't closed with you. You can pull these comps. You can run these reports. It is a no-brainer. And honestly, it gives you an opportunity to get in front of them again, to give them a more updated version of what their home is worth report. An easy question to do if you're doing this via email is to say, hey, insert first name, just wanted to let you know, I'm doing a CMA, a current market analysis of what your home is worth next week. And before I do that, I just wanted you to reply to this email and let me know any updates that you've done to your house so that I can get the best possible value. By doing that, by asking them a question right there and personalizing it and actually asking them, you're increasing your chance of getting a response by like 50%. I mean, like, first of all, to pick on guys out there, like, what guy do you know that doesn't love to brag about any dumb thing he did in his house? Like, I just did my garage and I can't wait to tell everyone about it. Although I didn't even love to hammer. My contractor did an amazing job. But seriously, you change the light bulb, people freaking brag about it. It's insane. So your clients want to brag too, and your clients want to know that you're interested in the projects they're doing around their homes. And they also want to know that if you're giving them a valuation on their home, you're going a little bit deeper than Zillow, right? Like I don't even want to mention Zillow because the chat's going to blow up with people that love them, that hate them, that think they're taking over the world, Big Brother, whatever. But Zillow does CMAs, and customers know that. So if you're doing one, take information from your customers that Zillow can't possibly know so that you can make your CMA better than Zillow's, better than the computer. Everyone out there is capable of doing that, and everyone out there is able to use their human brain to get better information than the computer system would. But I think that is one of the easiest pieces of low-hanging fruit marketing that we could all do out there. There's a lot of other tips and tricks you can use when you're trying to send out these home valuation reports to your customers and friends, but definitely try it if you haven't already done that. So the next thing I'm going to talk about and is creating new channels of recurring business rather than hunting for one-on-one random clients. This is one I really like to talk about because in the lending industry, this is what I do on a daily basis. Quick water break. So lenders are all prospecting guys, right? Like I'm sure everyone out there feels like their lenders are just constantly barraging them with requests for business and blah, blah, blah. And it's annoying. I make the joke to the lenders at my office that realtors are like the pretty girls in school and lenders are kind of like the creepy dudes that are just trying to get with them all the time. Whether that's appropriate or not, I have no idea. But it feels that way, right? Like I will be hanging out with one of my real estate friends having a drink on my porch. at like, 4 o'clock on a Thursday, and their phone will go off from 3 different lenders who are simply calling to ask for business. It's kind of crazy. If you're reaching out to someone, try to get a little creative in your approach. Don't just call and say, hey, I love your business. But what I'm getting at here is that lenders do a good job in looking for sources of business that are not just one deal. Lenders have recognized that realtors can send them multiple deals. So rather than focusing their time on one client at a time, focus your time on people that can become streams of business for you. Now, this is a point in the presentation where I would love it if anyone who is willing to share. I like to have a pie is big mentality, right? Like I will share any tip that I have with any of my competitors because I believe that there's a lot of business potential out there. So I hope you guys feel the same way. So comment in the chat section with any streams of business ideas you have. We're going to cover a couple, but I would love to get some more ideas. So examples of what a stream of business person could look like for a realtor. Let's think about people that have a similar niche to what we do. If you're a realtor, maybe focus on people that work in human resources. So people that work in human resources know people that are getting hired and fired in the general area that you live in. My wife is a recruiter. She hires people. So she knows when people have jobs. So if I treat my wife really, really nicely, she will tell me once a month which people that she hired are moving to the area, or which people she hired maybe have a massive pay change situation and maybe they might want to look for an upgrade. Agents that I work with have cultivated amazing relationships with human resource professionals at large companies and even small companies. Take them out for lunch once a month. Take them out for lunch once a year. Make sure that they know that you want their referrals. You don't want them to give you any information that would get them in trouble, but you want a strong referral when it's appropriate. These can be amazing streams of business for you guys. Other ones that agents tell me all the time, divorce attorneys. Divorce attorneys know when people are forced legally to sell their houses. Those situations can obviously be stressful because divorce is not a fun thing. But if they have to sell their house in a month, they need a great realtor to make that happen. And everyone gets paid faster when they work with professionals. So working with great, amazing divorce attorneys can be an awesome thing to do. Financial advisors can oftentimes be good. There was a lot of financial advisors out there. And that can be a really great source of business because when you're working with like a first-time home buyer, you're helping them, especially on the mortgage side, you're helping them get into debt. And so it's really great to for you to refer them to a financial advisor who can then help them start saving for retirement and for everything else. But on the other hand, a lot of people, once they have saved up a lot of money, need a referral on who they can buy real estate from and who they can do real estate investments with, and that is you. So talk to your personal financial advisor and find out who they refer to on the real estate side, and then ask them, hey, like if I commit to giving you some referrals, would you commit to giving me some? Have those conversations. So I'm gonna look at the chat to see any other ideas that people have put out there. Haven't seen a ton yet because no one wants to share their secret sauce, which I totally get. So I'm going to keep rolling on this. Another great one is teachers. This sounds like a weird one because teachers work with children and children do not buy houses unless you're talking about the 1994 Disney movie Blank Check, which for any of my 90s kids out there was one of my favorite movies. A little kid bought a house because he had a blank check. Great idea, by the way, investing young. But teachers know everybody. If you find someone who's been a teacher in a school district for 20 years, they know 20 years worth of people who are no longer children and who are home buying age. People stay in touch with great teachers. Reach out to your clients, your friends, etc., who are teachers, and just have the conversation with them that you want referrals and that you want to find out a way to help them as well. Never just ask for help, by the way. Always offer it first. So if you know a teacher out there, offer to sponsor tissues or Kleenex for their classroom for the year. Although if kids aren't in school this year, I don't know how that would work, but maybe there's still something you can do. Also, think about any coaches you work with who do like kids sports. They never have big budgets and they're always looking for handouts like oranges and snacks for after practice. And oftentimes, if you agree to do that, they will help you out. You can get a little byline in one of their emails to the parents, or you can put one of your flags or one of your pieces of marketing up somewhere. just get creative with it. I had a great comment in the chat feature. Tax advisors are a great potential source of referrals. You know, I mean, just look at some of the tax benefits from owning rental real estate, right? It's totally different game, and tax advisors know how to advise their clients, so they can be potentially amazing referral sources. Jewelry stores, people that you know that sell engagement rings. If someone knows 20 people a month that are getting married, those people, especially in West Michigan, are buying a house very, very quickly afterwards. If you can get a meeting with them before they start thinking about real estate and cultivate that relationship, you can do incredibly well with that. So again, that all kind of goes back to the idea of finding people that have a similar base customer as you. What do they have in common? Contractors can also be a good one. I know contractors are always in kind of high demand, especially in West Michigan in a low inventory situation. But cultivate relationships with your contractors. Call them and say, hey, did you get the 5 referrals that I sent you last year? Did you appreciate those? Were they good referrals? How can I refer you better? Start that conversation, make them feel appreciated. Remind them that you've done a great job. And then ask them for referrals. Ask them, hey, I'm sure you probably go out to quote a lot of people on home repairs who then can't afford it, who then might think, man, it would be easier to just sell this house than going through a 6-month renovation. That is an amazing source of business for a lot of people out there, but you just have to get creative about it. You just have to ask. Have another comment in here. Someone does a great job of getting doctors who are incoming at various hospitals. So again, cultivate relationships with people, people like physicians, surgeons, dentists, who might be in the know on new people moving to the area. Doctors are an easy one because a lot of times when a doctor starts at a new hospital, they're moving from somewhere else, especially like in the residency phase, etc. I have another one. I'm getting all these great pieces of feedback here. HOA board members. That is interesting. So a lot of associations have homeowners associate. A lot of neighborhoods have homeowners associations, and the board members are usually the nosy neighbors who are in the know on absolutely everything that's going around. I made the strange decision this year to join the architectural review committee for my neighborhood, and now I get to be the bad guy that says you can't put this cute fence up in your backyard. That's a tangent, but homeowners associations are weird, but yes, all of my neighbors on the association know exactly everybody's business and who's moving in and who's moving out. So I think that's a tremendous idea. Last one I'm going to give you guys on streams of business is one that I heard 2 years ago, made a ton of sense to me, and has since blown my mind and generated us a ton of income. And that is people that own rental properties. So many of us out there have sold investment properties, but we haven't necessarily had a conversation with our sellers or with our buyers to find out who's marketing to their tenants for when they eventually decide to step into home ownership. I met an agent in Nashville, Tennessee, who did $20 million in real estate sales with an average price point of about $400,000, just slightly higher than ours. And she did her entire book of business off of the 100 properties that her husband manages. He's a professional property manager. They put magnets on every single refrigerator of every single rental property that they have. And then they send letters out 3 times a year to every tenant, letting them know that if they want to get out of their lease a year or a month early, they have an option for them. I'm not saying you have to give a discount, that's just her personal preference. But if you market to those people that are renting by name, with a creative way, you can do really well. Now, you obviously don't want to market to your buyers, tenants without permission, but if you explain to them how it would work, and if you explain to them how you can help them, or even if you're just marketing to your own rental properties that you might own, or to a close friend, it can be an amazing piece of marketing. I don't have a million rental properties myself, just a couple. But each property has 3 to 4 tenants, duplexes and more. So if I'm marketing to 20 tenants a year, I think last year I got 4 referrals that I was able to give to my preferred realtor, as well as to one of the lenders at our office on my tenants. And that's at a very small scale. So think about how you could use rental properties as a stream of business to get in front of tenants. A couple more comments in here. Hairdressers. Hairdressers are amazing because they sit in their chairs every day talking to everybody. And they know absolutely everything. So hairdressers is an amazing, amazing idea. So moving on from channels of business, wanted to talk about sending referrals rather than just asking for referrals. And this is one that has kind of bothered me for years. People reach out to me all the time asking me for business. I don't mind. I get it. We're all in sales. Ask me away. But wouldn't it be nicer if someone started the conversation with how can I help you versus how can you help me? I think it's like a basic feature of like how we communicate as humans and how we like to do business. Like, people are more interested in you once they find out that you're interested in them. As selfish as this sounds, psychology tells us that everybody's favorite subject is themselves. Or if you have grandkids, it's your grandkids. I don't think it's your kids. I think it's like grandkids and yourself. But knowing that, when you start a conversation out and you have a big ask coming at the end, start by being genuine and asking how you can help them. The next step would be tracking the referrals that you give to the same degree that you track the referrals that you receive. So if you're not tracking the referrals that you're receiving, you're crazy, because how can you possibly grow your business if you don't know what's coming in? How can you stay on top of everything? But very few people track the referrals that they give away. There are realtors, I believe, are better connected and better suited than anyone in any other industry to give referrals. I give you guys a huge kudos for that. One of the main reasons that I would never not use a realtor for a property transaction, even if I found the property myself, is that I want someone that can connect me with all the right people. I want my realtor to connect me with the contractor that I need to use to get changes done. I want my realtor to connect me with a property manager to help me with my tenants. I want a realtor to connect me with a stager. I want them to connect me with a lender, a title company, an insurance company, a financial advisor, a babysitter in the new neighborhood that I'm moving to, a landscaper. I mean, realtors are better suited to give a referral than anyone in any other industry. And anyone that wants to challenge me on that, I'm happy to argue for days. You guys know everybody, and there's so many crucial people that go into every single home purchase that you can make referrals out. Now, if you were to make 10 referrals out on every single home that you transacted with your clients might not use all 10 referrals that you gave them, but I'm sure that they're going to use 2 or 3 of them. So if you were to make 3 referrals out on 20 home purchases that you work on a year, that's 30 referrals. At the end of the year, you could call up every single referral partner, remind them how you helped their business, and double check with them to make sure that they were helpful referrals that were profitable for them and that they enjoyed and that they were the right kind of referrals and that you referred them the right way. And then I think the natural tendency for these people that you just helped is going to be to then ask how they can help you. And that is a way to set your business up for success in a very, very, very genuine way. So many of you guys out there are such great, amazing people that heartlessly give out referrals to other people in the industry and in ancillary industries. And you never ask for anything for yourselves. And that's awesome. But I challenge you to start tracking those referrals in whatever system you have. And it could be in your Excel sheet that we talked about at the beginning. It could be in a more detailed CRM system that your company provides. But by tracking referrals, you'll at least know what you're giving away. And then you'll be able to hopefully see the value that you're giving away. And that'll give you a better idea of whether the people that you're supporting are also supporting you. Susan Pasteur at First American Title refers to this as being a great connector. And I think all of the best agents and lenders out there are truly great connectors first and great realtors second. There's a lot of other ways to do this, by the way. You don't have to just refer someone to a plumber or refer them to someone that's going to charge them money. One of my absolute favorite realtors in town does this thing. And this thing is something all of us can do. When he works with a client who's moving here from out of town, he makes an effort every time to connect them with 2 or 3 of his other past clients who they could be friends with. People want friends. People want friends for their kids. If you're moving here from out of town and you don't know anyone, it's lonely, right? Like everyone in Grand Rapids asks, like, oh, what high school did you go to? I didn't go to high school here. I didn't have an answer for that question when people asked me, and the conversation would die. When I first moved here, my realtor referred me to people that he thought I would like, that I could have a beer with, that I could hang out with, that I could network with, professionally, for fun, everything. People with kids my kids' age, people with wives similar to my spouse, etc. Think about your clients and how you could help them. It might be a social referral. When you do that, you become a more meaningful part of that person's life. I can tell you that the 3 or 4 friends that my realtor referred me to call a friend a referral sounds cold and callous, but it's not. That realtor is now a part of each and every one of those friend groups that I'm in. So whether Johnny, my friend, is having a birthday party for his kid and he invites me, he's also inviting that realtor, right? Because that realtor is a part of that friend circle. Imagine if you were a part of every single one of your clients' friend circles. You would never need to pick up the phone to cold call anyone. The referrals would literally pile in. So if you guys take anything from this presentation today, I think being genuine and trying to help others, but then getting creative with it would be the #1 thing I would want all of us to take away. And I think in West Michigan, we're all genuinely good people. I mean, like, I could always be a better person. I'm sure many of us could, but I think it's easy to be genuine because helping people is awesome. I got an awesome tip from someone out there. Housewarming parties for buyers. Now, I don't know how many of those are happening with COVID, but small group parties are happening. And anyone that does want to do a small group happy hour, come over to my house. I have a ton of great wine and would love to hang out with you on the deck. Social distancing, of course, if Gretchen's listening. But I think a housewarming party or a moving day party is an amazing way to do something for your customers that matters, that also gives you a really great shot of getting a referral. I have an agent out there who offers every single customer a moving day party or a housewarming party 30 days after moving. The moving day parties are really interesting because if you show up and physically help them move, you're like a really nice person. That's like really helpful. It's kind of like the person that someone asks to drive them to the airport. It's not just a random friend. It's someone that you're close with. But also the other people that show up on moving day to help them are going to be their closest personal relationships. And for you as the realtor to be involved in that, you're going to meet your clients' best friends, their parents, etc. It's going to set you up for success. And for referrals, because like who wouldn't want to choose a realtor that actually shows up for you on moving day? Now that being said, I know not all of us can physically help move stuff, so there's a way around that. Sponsor a moving day pizza and beer party. Bring pizza, whatever their favorite food is, if they want healthier food, and some beer, some wine, some sparkling water, whatever they like to close it to moving day as some refreshments when they need a break. I think it's an absolute win. Closing day party 30 days out, or a moving day party 30 days out. If you help them sponsor a housewarming party, you get to meet all of their neighbors. You get to meet a lot of their other closest personal relationships, and their friends and their neighbors. Everyone is going to say, hey, how come my realtor didn't throw me a 30-day after housewarming party? And it's going to just show that you care more. It's going to show that you're genuinely interested. But also, you get to meet people, have great conversations, etc. I like to interact with people, and I like to be out there face to face. And so for me, spending my money on a party is a lot more fun than buying a random lead off of the internet. I'm getting a couple private messages about my airport comments. By the way, I don't like when people ask me for rides to the airport because, you know, like Uber's out there and parking at the airport's like $18 and it's just a lot easier. And I like to fly out early in the morning, and like I wouldn't want to ask anyone to drive me at 5 a.m. to the airport. It just seems really inconvenient. So I'm not saying don't ask me for a ride, but I'm saying like I'd rather Venmo you $20 to grab an Uber. I'm not a terrible person, but it's just not my cup of tea. Uber's fantastic. Next thing I'm going to talk about after my not funny joke is social media. So social media is really what I got my start in talking about real estate marketing 9 years ago. I was finishing up my master's at State, and I took a class the last semester of 2010 on internet marketing that was taught by Google's vice president of ad sales. And it was fascinating. I mean, like going to school for 20 years and not knowing any skills that I had at the end of the day that I could actually use to make money was really sad. But then taking a class on internet marketing and thinking, oh my God, every single one of these tips people can use to make money. This is fantastic. I took these classes and I moved up to Grand Rapids and was looking for a role, and Treadstone said, hey, can you help us with internet marketing? And I was like, oh my God, I just took a class on this. I can totally knock this out. And then I took more and more classes on it because I wanted to get better. But back in the day, social media was really simple. You could do anything you wanted all the time. It was all free. And you really just connected with people that were in your network. I mean, originally on Facebook, you could only connect with people that went to your college or your high school or were within 1 degree of a friend away. So it truly was a social network for each person. But now social media is very different. There's a lot of different platforms out there. Each platform has a slightly different purpose, a slightly different vibe, and different ways that let you advertise. So when we're talking about Nimble marketing, the conversation wouldn't be complete without social media, simply because for those of us who don't have a huge marketing budget, it's free. The first question I get is business page, personal page, what should I use? The answer to that is personal page. And here's why. Business pages do not give you nearly the same amount of publicity as your personal page does. When you post something on your business page, Facebook only sends it out to like 7% of the people that already like and follow you, unless you pay them. That didn't used to be the case. It's been like that way for 4 years though. On your personal page, when you post something, Facebook's algorithm determines who is online at that time and who is interested in that type of post. You get about 50% better results off of anything you post on your personal page than you ever will on a business page. Now, one big thing I would tell you here, the big caveat, is that if you're a weirdo, kidding, no one's a weirdo out there. If you're into really like controversial topics, maybe you like to post about guns, maybe you like to post your opinion on lots and lots of civil rights issues, maybe you like to post your opinion on politics. I respect your opinion, and I have my opinions on those issues. And I think we all have the right to post it if we want to. But if you think that there's a risk that you're going to offend someone that you want to work with and you care about that, then I would use a business page more. Because on a business page, you can post just business, and on your personal page, you can put all of your other thoughts. Now, that being said, if you're someone who keeps their Facebook pretty politically correct, your personal page is 100% the way to go. And it's probably the #1 form of marketing that I would use, combining that with Instagram based on who your customer base is. Now, you can also separate your contacts on Facebook into groups, and that can be really, really helpful. You can give people a category. So you can label people as like family, close friends, other realtors. And then when you post something, there's a little area where it will show you who you're posting it to. The example for that, I'll share my screen really quick. So hopefully like no one on my Facebook shared anything like hugely inappropriate in the last 5 minutes, because that would be really, really embarrassing. But I'll do my Facebook really quick and show you guys this quick example. So my screen is being shared. I'm going to status. What's on your mind? A picture of my son 3 years ago pops up. Not too embarrassing, although that was not a great photo of me. Better of my wife. You'll notice at the top here under create a post, you'll notice that when you're posting, you can choose who to post it to. So it's select privacy. I can post this to public, which is anyone on or off Facebook. This means that if I post something and you share it, your friends can see it too. So for anything I'm posting that I want the world to see, that's what I choose. The default on Facebook is usually friends. So if you haven't looked at who your posts are going to, they're probably going to your friends. Or you can go to like only me. And if you post it to only me, it's an easy way to show that your post is only going to a certain group to just yourself. I'm going to stop broadcasting there. And just even looking at that list, I need to go through and revise it, because there's people that weren't seeing my posts before that now they are. And I want to change that, because I want everyone to see what I have to say. But I also create lists of family members, things like that. So if I'm posting pictures of my babies or pictures of my vacation, I sometimes will post that to a smaller group of people. Getting some really great comments in here in the chat section. Julie wants to remind everyone again, make sure that you're confirming your physical presence by putting your beautiful face on the video. Please do, I'd love to see you. Second, make sure that if you joined late and your name is just your first name, please post your first and last name in the comments. And getting a question here, yes, so Katrina mentioned a lot of realtors are getting told to start business pages so that they have stats on who is viewing their material for future marketing. On Instagram, you can actually, you can create a business account that operates the exact same way as a personal account does. And I did that. I've converted my personal profile to a business account so I can see statistics better. One caveat I would give you with that, though, is that Facebook did the same thing 6 years ago. And at first, Facebook business pages operated the same way that personal pages did. And then they took the rug out from under us and said, if you want to use this business page now, you have to pay. And you have to pay to get your message out there. So if you have 100 friends on your personal page and 100 friends on your business page, and you post something on both, it will only go to a very small percentage on your business page unless you pay. And Instagram at the moment is equal for both business and personal, but I guarantee that since Instagram owns Facebook owns Instagram, within a year, 2 years, they are going to monetize that. They are going to monetize the hell out of it because they have to appease their shareholders who want to make more money. So I think business pages are great for that, but you do have to be careful because it's a diminishing return on an investment. And additionally, when you have a friend on your personal Facebook, they've already chosen to be friends with you. So for you to then say, hey, I'm going to ask them to be a fan of my business page, it's almost like, what's the point? Because they're already friends with you on your personal page and you get more free publicity on your personal page. So just think about, like, when you're inviting someone to your business page, like, what are you going to post that's so different from your personal page? Additional question there. What about sharing a post from your business page to your personal page? Does this still get the same amount of views as originally from your personal page? The answer is yes. That's a great strategy. You can share something to your business page and then share the best ones to your personal page. Awesome strategy. You could you could post a lot on your business page and then share the best ones to your personal page. The number one rule I have, though, with sharing is that when you share something, you really want to explain why you're sharing it, right? So, like, God bless my mother, but she likes to take, like, any video she sees on YouTube and shares it, but she doesn't, like, explain why she's sharing it. And then, like, I don't always watch it if I'm busy. I apologize, Mom, in advance for that. But when you share something with the world on social media, you really want to explain your opinion on what you're sharing so that people have the context of what to look out for. Are you sharing it because it's funny? Are you sharing it because it's useful? Share your opinion. Your opinion at the end of the day and your knowledge and your unique spin is the only thing that separates you from the other 3,000 realtors in our market and the other million realtors in the US. I have no idea if those numbers are accurate, though, so don't crucify me. So with Facebook, what can you do with Facebook to generate business? If you want 2 ideas from today's presentation, I'll give you 2 for Facebook, and I'll give you 1 for Instagram. So for Facebook, use Facebook Messenger. It is your best friend. Facebook Messenger is like your Rolodex with a save button. When you send someone a message on Facebook Messenger and they respond to you, you have two-way communication. Two-way communication sends a message to Facebook's algorithm. Their algorithm is what determines whose posts pop up, how much, and when. When you message someone back and forth, it tells Facebook that you guys are interested in each other again. So if you and I haven't talked in 6 months to a year, you're not seeing my Facebook posts a ton because Facebook doesn't think you care about me anymore, which is really, really sad. But if we message each other and we have two-way communication, the next day, you're going to start seeing my Facebook posts again. It is dynamite. And a lot of people have asked me in the last year, like, hey, Facebook no longer lets you discriminate in terms of who you're targeting when you're doing a boosted post. Like, it's really hard now to, like, if you have an open house in East Grand Rapids, it's hard to, like, target East Grand Rapids and not the rest of the county because the rules HUD passed. Whether you agree with those or not, I'm not going to comment on, but it's changed the way that we do real estate marketing. With that algorithm tip, though, you could take a list of all of your buyers and sellers and friends in East Grand Rapids, and you could send them a message about something interesting the day before that you're going to post that new listing that you have in East Grand Rapids. And that is going to increase the chance that all of them see it. So use Facebook's messaging strategy and algorithm as a way to make sure more people and the right people see your posts. Someone just asked, great question, if we recommend adding clients to your Facebook friends list. Absolutely. I could use an expletive, very naughty word to show my enthusiasm for adding clients as friends on Facebook. Absolutely. Here's why. If you do marketing that you spend money on, and if you spend money on past client events, and if you spend money on postcards, and if you spend money on mailers, then absolutely add them on Facebook. I do know a couple realtors out there who are transactional, and most of their clients they work with only one time because they have a weird little niche, and they don't need to add their clients on Facebook. But if you are the kind of person that invests in staying in touch with your clients, then yes to Facebook and Instagram and adding friends. And the reason is that they're going to see your updates and it's going to keep you top of mind. Why wouldn't you want a free way to keep top of mind in front of your clients in a positive perspective? So that would be my number one Facebook tip, would be using the messaging strategy. And my second tip there would be, when you're messaging someone, start the conversation by asking them what they've done recently, or by going to their personal profile first and then figuring out what they're interested in. When you message someone about something that they're interested in, you increase your chances of getting a response exponentially. And I know a lot of you guys who have heard me speak before have heard me talk about this, but it's really, really important that you come up with a strategy that works for you. So anytime I have a strategy that I hear time and time again works for people, I like to repeat it. I got a really nice comment from someone out there that although she's heard my same exact comments and ideas multiple times, she finds a different way to do it every time and gets a nugget out. And that's what my number one hope is for everybody out there. So let's shift gears a little bit to Instagram, which not all of us are on, but many of us are. So right now, the average age of a Facebook user is getting kind of old. It started like it was the cool social media site for like young people, and then all the old people joined. And I found out the other day that I'm on the older half of people at my office, which was kind of weird because I was the youngest one for a really long time, and now I'm on the older half, and it just seems weird. Someone asked me if I was in my 40s the other day, and I almost had a mini heart attack and died. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but much younger than that. But the overall idea is that the demographics of social media changes all the time. Right now, Facebook is where everybody hangs out, but older people spend more time there than anyone else. Instagram is where your 25 to 40-year-olds are hanging out most commonly. It has a higher female swing, but there are a ton of guys on there too. And then TikTok is where people that are even like in that younger, like 16 to 25 to 30 generation are hanging out the most. So with Facebook, if you're using it, try to use it to listen, not just to talk. Go on your newsfeed every day and look to see who just had kids, who just posted that they're looking for a realtor, whose kid just won the spelling bee, who can you send a personal handwritten note to. Even if you're not comfortable posting on social media, just use it to listen and use it to then send a handwritten note out. With Instagram, you do have to send some messages out. You do have to do some posts, but what kind of posts do you do? So if you're looking for a business-related post to do on Instagram that should generate you leads, I really, really like posting pictures of houses that are not the front of the home. So I think 99% of realtors always post the exterior photo of the front of the home as their main photo when they're marketing. And I get it because that's what we've been trained to do. But you're not required to do that. Post a picture that's the coolest photo from the house, the picture that you think sets the home apart. I mean, we have so many neighborhoods in West Michigan that some of our amazing builders have done a great job of building affordable homes in, and they all look the same. And so if you're in a neighborhood where every single house looks exactly the same, posting the exterior photo might not be the biggest selling point. Find the interior picture that really makes the house stand out and use that to market on Instagram. That'll get you a lot more publicity. Second thing is posting the monthly price of the house rather than the actual sales price of the house. The reason for this is that when you're marketing a house and you're putting out the price of $250,000, you're only reaching out to people, you're only like really connecting with people mentally that know that they can afford a $250,000 house, people that have thought about it. When you market the fact that the monthly payment on a house is $1,350 a month with taxes and insurance, all of a sudden you're reaching out to people in a way that makes it seem more affordable. I mean, like when I was like 18, I was spending $1,600 a month in rent at Michigan State split among my 4 roommates. And so even when I was 19 years old, $1,600 a month for rent didn't seem like a huge amount of money. I mean, it was because I made no money. And so technically I was in the deficit every month, but who cares, right? I was 19. But, like looking today, like a rental property I have, $1,500 for a 3-bedroom, that's $500 a room. Doesn't sound like a huge amount of money. And if I were to tell my tenants that that house could be theirs for $700 a month, Jesus, why would they rent from me at that point? When you post the monthly payment, you're reaching a different group of people and you're getting them curious about what that looks like. Now, obviously, conversation about monthly payment wouldn't be complete with talking about all of the disclaimers that you probably have to include. And I think putting those disclaimers is important, but just check with your broker on what the rules are where you're located. You can do a second post or one post at the end of your story on Instagram that's like, hey, these are based on principal and insurance with taxes or not, based on 3% down, etc. But just walk people through what that looks like. And if you're posting a picture of the house and then you're posting the fact that it could be yours for $1,500 a month, your next slide could be, by the way, qualifies for 0 down. By the way, qualifies for 3% down. I mean, there's so many ways to use the financing piece of this to get creative, and so many companies out there, not just our mortgage companies, have mortgage calculators and apps that you can download to figure out those quick computations of what that payment might look like. But most of you guys know what translates into a payment. Getting a great comment on here, posting that to your story on Instagram as well as in addition to your normal post. Brooke asked, posting 20% down in conventional. That's a great question. I think posting the payment based on different programs makes a ton of sense. I oftentimes like to post 20% down, 5% down, and 0 down. And with the 0 down and 3% down, I obviously would include the PMI numbers on that. But just getting creative with that and posting a variety is a great way to reach people that weren't thinking about it previously. Other thing to do with Instagram, if you're looking for a way to really up your game, would be to go on tonight, like when you're done listening to this presentation, go on and find a real estate hashtag. It could be Grand Rapids homes for sale. It could be homes for sale, modern homes, luxury homes, etc. Click a hashtag and follow the rabbit hole to see who else is posting great content around those topics. And with that being said, you can then find agents in other markets that are not your competitors, look at what they're doing, and then you can start to figure out how to do the same post that's your style. So if you see that they're doing some great client event, it'll give you inspiration. If you see that they're posting monthly payments, you'll get that information from them. That's where I got the idea. It's a great way to get ideas of what you could post next. Katrina made a great comment. So as lenders, as mortgage companies, we're required to disclose a ton of information anytime we're mentioning a payment. I believe there are general rules for how that works for realtors, but does someone who is familiar with the rules on what a realtor would have to disclose in that be able to weigh in? I know we have a lot of senior realtors on this call. What additional terms would you have to talk about if you're talking payment or none? Please answer, someone. All right, I'll wait on that answer, and as soon as someone chimes in, I would love to share that with the group. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're gonna cover a quick handout, and this handout talks about proving your value. And so when you're talking about why a client should choose you over your competitor, it's really hard to separate yourself from thousands of other people. I mean, it's easy to separate yourself from thousands, but then how do you separate yourself from the other people at your own brokerage? How do you separate yourself from your best friend who happens to also be a realtor that fits all the same, diversity check boxes that you check? I think each of us need to take some time to think about what makes us different. So I'm going to put an activity on the screen for a couple minutes, and this will also be a quick little bathroom break, a quick little water break for anyone. I'm going to put an exercise on the screen that I think everybody could benefit from to help figure out your value. And this is also a handout that I'm going to be more than happy to share with anyone if I for it. But this is what I call my proving your value exercise. All right, so I think everyone can see the screen here, and I need to maybe make this a little bit bigger here. But here are the steps on the exercise. So number one, you want to answer, what makes you different from other people who do what you do in your area? So again, there's thousands of realtors in GRAR. What makes you different from those people? Number two, what makes you different from other people who do what you do at your office? Three, what makes you different from all the other people who do what you do? What are the services you provide your clients that are of value? This is a really, really easy one, right? Like, you take people on showings, that's your time. You negotiate for your clients, that's a huge piece of value. Sometimes you're the one that finds them the house, that's a piece of value. Sometimes there's certain technology that you give away to your clients for their use, that's a piece of value. Sometimes you're giving referrals out, list all the people that you're going to refer them to, that's a piece of value. Maybe it's staging, maybe you used to be a builder and so you have a knowledge of the building process that gets them through inspections faster. Think about all of the things that you do for your clients and write them all down. And it doesn't mean you do every single thing for every client. What I really want you to get out of this is I want you to leave and I want you to have a list of all the things that when you go to a listing presentation or a buyer's presentation, you can mention all of these things as ways that they will get value from them. I think in today's changing landscape where people are like, hey, like, is 3% worth it? Like, do I need to pay 3%? Do I need to pay 6%? We need to start talking about why we're valuable and explaining it. Because so many of the things that you do for your clients go unnoticed. So many things your clients might just take for granted, but when it's all right there and when you actually explain to them what you're doing, you can tell them the value that you think you're offering, it's a great way for them to tell you the value that they're actually hoping to get from you. Of the services you provide, which ones cannot be replaced by technology? You know, for all those people out there that think the robots or Zillow is going to take over, what things can't they take over? I mean, sometimes real estate agents and lenders are really like counselors, right? Like, we're counseling people through the emotional roller coaster of buying a house. I don't think Zillow can replace that ever. It could be mistaken. I mean, I know they own Dotloop and they have a lot of data, but I don't know how they can be emotional counselors. I mean, which pieces of value that you provide do your customers most value? What do they not value? A big thing with that is, I think NAR did a survey a couple of years ago and it said one of the things that younger buyers don't value is their realtor finding them a home. And I thought that was absolutely insane. Because when you think about what a realtor does, the first and foremost thing is typically finding